In this video, we are talking all about lease options, what they are, who's involved, all the things. So be sure to stay tuned until the end. What's up, everybody? It's Cassandra Lopez with the Bremerton Broker channel. This channel is all about creative investment strategies. So whether you inherited a property through probate and you need to sell it by non-conventional means, or maybe you're getting a divorce right after buying a house and you don't have any equity, or maybe you're just done being a landlord, there are going to be tons of strategies and options on this channel that you can browse through and check out. Okay, lease options. What is a lease option? So a lease option is essentially you as a tenant / future buyer, you are going to rent a house from a seller with the option to buy it later. Now, what this looks like is there's a special lease option contract with clauses in there that protect both parties. So the lease price, the rental amount is established usually for the first year. And then after the first year, say year 2, it's automatically increased, say 3 to 5%. Just whatever normal market rental increases are in your area, that's probably going to be the standard. And the terms can be anything, but the most common ones I see are about a 5-year lease term. So you'll have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Every year it's going to increase by that 3 to 5%. That'll all be established and agreed upon before anybody signs. At the end of the 5 years, the tenant will have the option to purchase that home at an agreed upon price that was agreed upon previously, like when everybody signed the lease, so like 5 years prior. A common question I get here is, just because I sign this lease option contract and I rent the house for 5 years, at the end of the 5 years, what if I can't or don't want to buy the house? So that's a great question. And the answer is you don't have to. That's why it's just called an option. So it's really important to understand that right up front, when you're signing that lease for 5 years with the option to purchase later, that there's going to be a fee. It's called an option fee. And basically the tenant is charged this fee that is going to be held by the owner / landlord. And this is the fee that's basically going to secure the property for you and prevent the seller from selling it out from underneath you to anybody else. It gives you the option to hold the property as your own if that's how you want to retain it. The reason there's a fee is because you are now, like, you are essentially telling the seller, hey, I may buy this in the future. It's not a sure deal, but just in case I don't, here's a fee for all your trouble. That's basically what it's saying. It's to secure the property for you if you want to buy it, giving you the right of first refusal when the seller goes to sell it, which is a great position to be in as a buyer. The purchase price amount is usually predetermined as well. And this is where it can really benefit the buyer because, say in today's market, the market value of your home is $400,000, right? But you're going to rent that home for 5 years. And if we do an average appreciation of like 8% a year, that $400,000 home is going to be worth a lot more at the end of 5 years, maybe like 550, like somewhere in there. But maybe the purchase price you agree upon is 500 5 years from now. So like today's value is 400. That really has not a whole lot of bearing on your rental agreement. It may just be factored in that, as long as the rent covers the payments, however you and the landlord want to structure it. But at the end of that 5 years, if you do choose to buy, you're buying that house for 500 or whatever agreed upon price. And it's typically going to be less than market value in that future point in time, which means that you're buying it for under market value. So when you close on it and you own it, you'll have instant equity, which is a really good spot to be in. So why would a renter do this? Why would a renter pay an option fee to a homeowner just to rent the house for 5 years when they could go rent any other house for 5 years and not pay that fee? So a couple of reasons. One is that the landlord will not displace you in that 5 years. So they have to give you the option to purchase at the end of that 5 years. You can buy it sooner if you're ready and able, but you have at least that 5 years. So you're not going to be displaced. Whereas if you rent another property that you don't have secured as a lease option, that homeowner could sell it at any time, or they could give you a notice of non-renewal. Maybe they have family moving into town and they don't renew your lease because they can move the family in, that sort of stuff. So you can very easily be displaced, which I know is a big issue with a lot of tenants. Maybe you would rather rent as a lease option right now instead of buying because maybe interest rates are too high. I know that's just been the hot button item for the last 2 years. It's just crazy talk. So interest rates through the roof. Nobody wants to pay 8% to buy a house. It is what it is. So maybe you rent a place instead, and in the future, in 5 years, when rates are more manageable, maybe you qualify at that time. Maybe you would prefer to rent as a lease option right now because you are not in a position to buy. Your income isn't where you want it to be. Your credit isn't where you want it to be to get the loan terms that would work well to keep your payment low. So maybe you need a little time to work on your personal situation in order to be able to buy comfortably. Or maybe there's just nothing to buy right now. I mean, we've had an inventory shortage for like decades, and it's not getting any better. It's like every time there's an influx of inventory, like we see these little mini bumps throughout the year, like there's a spring market, there's the summer market. As soon as kiddos go back to school like they just did, it just falls to the floor. So there's an inventory problem, you guys. Maybe there's just nothing that fits what your family needs at this moment in time, but this rental does. So maybe you go lease the rental as a lease option instead. Why would a seller do this? So a seller might do this because they have long-term income potential for the next 5 years. They have a tenant, they're going to have zero vacancy, they have nothing to worry about. Even if they do sell the price at the end of the 5 years for a price that's below whatever the market value is at that time, it's okay because that was compensated for by the steady cash flow and the steady tenancy and all of that stuff, and they had zero vacancy. So it's kind of like just weighing the pros and cons for themselves. The seller will also have a little extra buffer cash from that option fee that the buyer/tenant paid in the beginning. If the tenant elects to not exercise the purchase option and they decide to move out, then at that point, the homeowner can actually repeat the whole process with then current rental rates, increasing by 3 to 5% a year, just like every landlord probably is doing. And they can set a new purchase price on the property for the future 5 years. So they will benefit again from that steady 5 years of cash flow income and the steady 5 years of no vacancy tenants. And that puts them in a really good position. They could also, instead of repeating the process, just sell it for whatever it's worth. So if it's worth $550 and they were going to sell it to you for $500, well, they could make an extra $50,000 just by selling it in that current market in the future. So the seller has a couple of options there as well. So I get the question a lot, is the option fee paid towards the purchase price of the home 5 years down the road? So that really depends on how your contract is written. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's literally just a fee and it's non-refundable. Other times it's just a deposit that does go towards that. So that's really something you want to pay attention to if those are the terms that work for you, if that's how you're going to secure the property, whether that fee is going to be non-refundable or if it's going to be applicable towards the purchase price down the road. Now, individual property owners can do this all day long. They can engage in a lease option with any tenant at any point in time. But there's actually companies out there that will do this for you as well. And one of them is called Home Partners of America. Home Partners of America does not carry their own inventory. Basically, they allow prospective buyers/tenants to go and select whatever homes on the market. And there's a couple of steps they have to jump through. Like, you have to apply with Home Partners of America first as a tenant, make sure you're a qualified tenant. And then they'll qualify you for like a max rent amount. And from there, they work backwards and say, well, for this max rent amount, this is about the price of home that we're going to buy for you in order to make this work for everybody. So say the max rent amount they qualify you for is like $2,000, right? So they'll say, okay, your max rent amount is $2,000, so we can go buy a house for like $400,000, like whatever the numbers work out to be. I can't speak for them because every individual situation is different and they analyze all of those based on your financial picture. But say they have a house price for you. Okay, let's look for houses for $400,000. So you go, you choose a house, you get it under contract, you have an inspection, you do all these things. And if everything is going well, then Home Partners of America will then buy that house for you for cash. So the seller gets a cash buyer, so that's cool for them. You get a place to live that Home Partners of America just bought on your behalf as a qualified tenant. And your lease agreement terms are spelled out all from the beginning. So, if it's a 5-year, you're going to have those step increases. You're going to have a predetermined purchase price likely. There will be clauses in there that say that, you do need to qualify for your own mortgage. So make sure that you keep your financial house in order to be able to do that and all of that stuff. So it's all transparent. It's all predetermined. It's a pretty good gig for folks who otherwise don't want to or couldn't purchase a house right now. So if you want more information on that Home Partners of America, reach out to me, put it in the comments, text or email me, and I'll get you all the information you need on that program. I am one of their preferred agents, Not that that really means anything. It just means that like I can say, hey, there's this program that might work for you and go check it out. That's pretty much all that means. There are absolutely zero kickbacks. It's totally illegal, just so you guys know. But I do think it's a really cool option because, you know, in a community where 60% of the property occupants are tenants, that's actually a good option to get them into home ownership if that's what they so choose. So if there are any questions about a lease option that I did not address in this video, please put them in the comments. I read everything, I respond to everything. I would love to engage with you. This is my phone number, this is my email. Reach out to me any way you want, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, tap that little bell so you're notified every time I drop a new video. Bye for now.